Hey there, Sharon Horne-Ellstrom here. Welcome to day 73 of our BU 365-day challenge to do one thing every day that improves us. Today we're going to work on and begin the SOAP framework with respect to something mental or thought related, mental health related, right? Mental health or mental well-being related. And I said yesterday that I was going to do the false belief that so many of us have that we're not good enough or that we don't deserve something. And the tool we're going to use to do this, the S in, and I should grab my thing, but I don't have it right now, my I guess, visual aid. I make such fancy visual aids, right? I practice writing backwards and I do this. So our SOAP framework, we're going to talk about the S in SOAP framework, which stands for our story or our situation, your story or your situation. What is the story you're currently telling yourself about the thing that you want to improve? Say you want to become or get certified in something and you need to study for a test. You want to learn how to be a certain type of coach or a certain type of healer or a certain type of business owner or a certain aspect of a business. You would be telling yourself a current story. What's your current story? Because if you had already decided to do it, you would already have that information, have that knowledge. If I had already decided to give up thinking that I'm not good enough or believing I'm not good enough, it wouldn't come up again and again and again and again. But it still does, even though I've actually spent quite a bit of time trying to get rid of that false belief. But every once in a while, usually anytime I'm trying something new or out of the ordinary, it peaks up again, right? And so I've got to find ways to deal with it. I want to say once and for all, but I don't believe necessarily, and maybe that's why it keeps peaking up, that we can get rid of things once and for all. Things will still pop into our mind, but we can not let them impact our choices or our decisions. So the tool I want to talk about today is a very personal tool. It's called the Imaginary Friend tool. And I use it when I'm dealing with a situation that I would love to talk to my best friend about, but I'm embarrassed to, and I'm not going to talk to her about it. I'm not going to talk about this to anybody in my family. I'm not going to talk about it to any of my close friends because that's how personal it is. And when I want to discuss a topic like that, I pull out of my old teenage toolbox the imaginary friend. When I was in high school and a young teenager, I grew up with four, actually five and more sisters, three by birth parents, sisters, but we always had other girls. We had an AFS sister, Des, who now lives in Canada, but she was from the Philippines, lived with us for a year when I was a junior in high school. And we always had other friends of the family and stuff living with us, depending on their personal situation. One of our friends' parents got divorced, so she lived with us for a couple of years. Even after we moved out, she lived with my parents when we all went off to college. So I had created, to keep everybody out of my bedroom, because I had my own room and I liked having my own room and I wanted my privacy and I wanted people to stay out of my room and stay out of my closet and not steal my clothes all the time. So I created this imaginary friend. And I pretended that I had this ghost in my closet named George, which was enough when we were little girls to keep my sisters out of my room and to scare them off. Unless I was in there, they wouldn't go in there. So, which is hilarious now thinking about it, right? Yeah, I got this sea captain ghost in my closet, sisters. They bought it, so it worked for me. But I pulled George out of the closet, literally and figuratively, when COVID started. And I started doing this challenge because I was like, what are some of the things I've done in the past? Somebody I had ideas to bounce off of, which is really me, right? It's like talking to yourself, but it's not quite as embarrassing as talking to ourselves if we create an imaginary friend and imaginary character. A lot of times for our businesses, we create our ideal customer. We make a compilation of all of the characteristics we would want in the perfect person that we serve in our business. How about the perfect person to be in a relationship with, right? If you imagine that ahead of time, that person will come into your life. So I talked to George, starting with COVID, whenever I wanted to talk about my current story, but it was something I didn't really want to talk about with other people. I do this one, and I've used imaginary friend at least, I don't know, probably 10 times in the last couple of years as part of the Get Up and Go challenge. And I didn't use it on mental things. I used it for either finances, relationships, or health, because those are the three big areas that I would break the SOAP framework into a day each. And so I wanted to make sure that imaginary friend, who, what, where, when, why, and how, and that storyboarding were at least those tools that I covered every time. But since we're doing mental before relationships this time, I'm going to use it here. And I'll probably use it again in relationships because that's how powerful a tool it is. Unless we can actually talk to a real friend by the time we get to relationships. So I had this imaginary friend. Now, it turns out at my dad's funeral, I found out that he had an imaginary friend when he was a little boy named Albertson Roberts. And no one in his family ever could figure out why he had an imaginary friend named Albertson Roberts, but Albertson Roberts was his friend. His brother, his only brother, was 8 years older than him, and he had a bunch of sisters that doted on him. So he created an imaginary friend, probably so he could have some time to himself without all of his sisters fawning over him all the time. But what we want to do is talk to our imaginary friend, and we want to explain to that person, whoever that is for you, what is your current situation, your current story with respect to the area, the mental area or aspect of your life that you want to apply the SOAP framework to this week, that you want to change. What's your current story? So I'm going to tell George today all about the times that I have not felt like I'm good enough, like I'm not good enough. All the times I felt like I'm not good enough or that I don't deserve something. And then I'm going to switch, after I dump all that on him, I am going to switch over to exactly how I want my story to be with respect to not good enough. I want to try new things, do new things, and not even think about that I can't do it or I'm not good enough or that I don't deserve it. So we're going to talk about our current situation and our desired situation with our imaginary friend. And that will actually create a gap between where we are and where we want to be. And over the next 3 days, we will fill that gap using the rest of the SOAP framework. Now, I hope this has been clear. Our action item today is to, if we didn't decide yesterday what we want and what area of our mental well-being we want to work on, we need to decide that first. Then we need to talk to our imaginary friend, explain what the current situation is. And I'm sure a lot of the past situation will come up as we're talking about the current, because that's what happens. Usually we have a change or a challenge, and that triggers in us the desire to change. And when we get the desire to change, our subconscious all of a sudden starts serving us up all the times in the past why we want to stay exactly where we are, because we're safe exactly where we are, according to our subconscious. We're not dead yet, so we're safe. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to talk about that in our current situation. Then we're going to talk to our imaginary friend about what we want our situation to be. And we're just going to share in the comments below, how did doing this exercise make you feel? Or what did you think? I suppose, like, what did you think about this exercise is probably a better question to answer, because we're on mental, we're past feeling now. So that's our fun challenge for today. Go out, make it an awesome day. It doesn't take but a couple of minutes to do this, because you can do it in your head silently while you're waiting in traffic or driving to the store or using the bathroom even. You can just get creative with it. But you're just having a conversation inside your head with your imaginary friend. Or you can have one out loud with your imaginary friend. Totally up to you. Have fun with this, and I will be with you tomorrow, and we will hop into the O of our SOAP framework with respect to our mental well-being. Have a great day.